All right. I may be live. I never timed this thing well, but if I am, I'm going to go ahead and start talking now because I think I might be. Really excited. Welcome to episode 47 of Kowalski Analysis. Very exciting guest that I have tonight, and really excited to bring him in. But before I do, as always, I just quickly want to mention my sponsor, and that is Micah Hughes. Thank you, Micah. Micah does everything real estate. So if you're looking to buy, sell, invest, give Micah a call, 443-532-8450, or you can go ahead and email him. And again, the email is here in the notes. All right. So let me tell you about tonight's guest. Reached out to this guy and he responded. And Ryan Stevenson, in 2013, he signed an exclusive record deal after capturing Toby Mac's attention by co-writing the #1 and Grammy-nominated single, Speak Life. Y'all probably heard that song, and many of you have. He followed that up with a #1 single for 16 weeks in 2016, Eye of the Storm. In the eye of the storm, you remain in control. Okay, that's my terrible rendition. But he wrote and performed that. He's got 5 #1 singles, 3 as an artist and 2 as a co-writer, a Grammy nomination, Billboard Music Award nomination, a Dove Award in 2017. And he tours regularly with the likes of Toby Mac, Mercy Me, Newsboys, Matt Mayer, among others. Ryan Stevenson has distinguished himself as a rare talent. And tonight we're going to hear his powerful testimony and the story behind those lyrics. So without further ado, let me go ahead and bring Ryan into, there he is. There he is. Welcome to Kowalski Analysis, Ryan Stevenson.
How's it going?
How are you?
Good, sir. Thanks for having me.
So you said you're, where are you at right now?
I'm up near Madison, Wisconsin today.
Okay, awesome, man. And you're from Oregon, though, right?
Yeah, born and raised in South Central Oregon, about 10 miles north of the California border. So
South Central, West Side.
yeah. Grew up on the West Coast, South Central Oregon, out in the farmlands, very farming community, agricultural area. So.
And you were a paramedic, I read, right?
Yeah. I was worked as a paramedic for years, and then kind of at the tail end of my paramedic, I thought I would be a paramedic forever, but I got signed to a record deal on year 7 of being a paramedic. So it was kind of a transition, and I decided that I needed to walk through this music door.
That's wild, man. So I was reading up on you, and you didn't start playing until you were 18. Is that when you got your first guitar?
Yeah. My youth pastor gave me a guitar for a high school graduation present. And it just, didn't really make sense to me because I didn't play guitar. I didn't sing. I was a drummer. I've been playing drums since the 3rd grade. So that was really that's my instrument. Like, that's all I wanted to do was be a drummer. But then when I got that guitar, it just kind of clicked. It just made sense to me. Like I could just kind of do it. And
right.
It sent me on a whole new path.
That's wild. Later. Yeah, man, that's really wild. So tell me about, what was your first big break?
Oh boy. Well, I kind of have, I have such a real quirky, interesting journey into this whole thing, but from the paramedic world, that was a pretty trajectory shifting set of events that happened there. I need to tell this story because it sounds made up, but I was working a 911 shift. I was working a shift on the ambulance, and I responded to a call where a lady, a 39-year-old female, got struck in the head by lightning when she was out hiking in the hills. And it killed her. She was, unconscious, unresponsive, not breathing, no pulse. She'd been down for 10 minutes. But long story short, I was the paramedic that responded to that call. And I ended up reviving her in the back of the ambulance on the way to the hospital. And she recovered. She made it. She survived. And about a year later, her and I connected through a series of events. And she found out that I was a local musician around town and wanted to help me. So she helped me get into a recording studio and that demo that I made, I sent it to a record company, and it got me a record deal. So,
wow.
And then from there, like, I was only on that record label for 10 months. So I really thought that I'd made it. Like, man, all my dreams are coming true. This is amazing. Well, that label dropped me after 10 months. They just, didn't want to move on. And so I thought, well, here we are. Like, everything's over. My life feels like it's ending. My dreams are shot. And I went and got my paramedic job back and kept playing local and regional shows for a while. And then I ended up connecting with a guy named Toby through a song called Speak Life. And I had written this version of Speak Life, and Toby had heard that, and we ended up writing it together. And when Toby released Speak Life to the world, and then he signed me to his little label called Goatee Records, and that's where I've been for the last 8 years. So
love it, dude. That's awesome.
Couple important pieces in there.
Yeah, man. So that woman, she's still around. She must be very proud of you.
Man, she's my biggest fan. I don't get to see her much, but she watches from a distance, and she pays attention, and I think she's thrilled.
Talk about purpose. I mean, like, you wonder if there's purpose in your pain sometimes, but to see that, I mean, that's like, wow, okay, so there's a reason that happened. Wow. Yeah. That's wild, man.
It's amazing. Yeah.
How'd you link up with Toby?
While I was actually recording Speak Life in a recording studio in Franklin, Tennessee. And Toby, actually, that's his studio. He owns that building. I didn't know where I was. I just thought I was in doing a co-write with some producer guy, and come to find out that's Toby's space. And we ended up just working together through Speak Life. And the more I feel like we got to know one another, he just said, man, I want to walk with you. I believe in what you're doing. And so let's go. So he kind of put me on his hip and helped release my music to the world. And it's just been a crazy, wild ride ever since, really.
That's awesome, dude. I when I first became a believer, I listened to a lot of Toby Mac, because he was like the closest thing that I could find to secular, Yeah. And I just loved it, Still a big fan. I actually saw him at Creation a couple years ago. The last one before I was supposed to go this year. Actually, they were going to have it. I don't know if you were going to perform, but they were going to have Creation this year. They already had everybody there booked. We bought our tickets, and then they pulled the plug on it. But have you ever played Creation?
Yep. The Creation West, they used to do 2 of them. And I was being out in the Pacific Northwest. I played Creation a number of times.
Nice. Yeah, that's great. I love it. It's like Christian Coachella, I always tell people.
Yeah, right.
So who first got you into music? Was it your mom? Was it basically just her idea, or?
No, not really. I mean, my mom put me in a children's choir when I was little at church, but I did not like to sing. I didn't want to be up in front of people. I always hated the sound of my voice. I mean, I grew up really, really, really profoundly insecure. And so, which is still, a major battle and struggle in my life, even as an adult, is fighting that all the time. But
right.
I think nobody really got me into it. I just developed such a love and a passion for rhythmic music, like pop music. Like, my sister brought home a Michael Jackson tape when we were little, and I just remember hearing Michael Jackson and George Michael, Wham. And I just fell in love with this sound and the way this music moves. And it was really that's what really gave me a love for making music. But then when I, just my heart grew deeper in the things of the Lord, and my language to talk to God became playing songs to him, and just pray. Every single song was just like my prayers. And that's just kind of how it stayed.
That's awesome, man. Michael Jackson was my first, I guess I was 6th grade, and it was like my first person that I kind of idolized.
Yeah.
I had the Thriller record, and I had the hat and the pins.
Yeah.
I might even had a glove. But Wham was actually, Careless Whisper was the first song I ever slow danced with a girl to.
There you go.
Yeah, so it's got a special place in my heart. I still do it at karaoke a lot.
Of course.
So what's it like playing with these guys? Like, because you play with like Mercy Me, Newsboys, Toby Mac. I mean, was it surreal for you when you first, started kind of touring with them?
Yeah, of course, man. Like, grew up, I grew up on DC Talk,
Hmm.
which was, Toby's first band, huge, successful, quite
Jesus
possibly the biggest Christian band of all time.
Right.
And then kind of growing up on the music of Toby and DC Talk, Mercy Me, the Newsboys, all these guys, like those guys were pioneers to me.
Hmm.
And at this stage in my life, 20 some odd years later, to be sharing the stage with them and those guys taking me out on their tours and letting me open up for them and share the stage. It's mind blowing. It's so special.
That's awesome, man. Is it everything that you imagined it would be?
Yeah. It's just so, I lived a lot of life before all of the music thing. Like I didn't get signed to a record deal till I was 31 years old.
Right.
So I lived a lot of normal, real life before all of this. So to be able to do music full time for a living,
Yeah.
in contrast to where I come from and my background and my upbringing, this is a miracle. This is amazing to me. So every day is such a gift.
Whose music are you listening to? Like when you're, like working out at the gym or you're driving in your car, who do you listen to?
Man, I listen to a lot of just top 40 stuff. I listen to some Maroon 5, some Justin Timberlake, some Bieber. Like I love pop music, Katy Perry a little bit, but I don't know. I love the Eagles. Like I listen to like classic, like George Michael, all of it. Just
I love me some George, man.
I'm all over the place when it comes to that.
Gone too soon for sure. So if you could open for anybody, secular or Christian, who would it be?
It would have been George Michael.
Really? That's
Yeah,
awesome.
for sure.
Why?
He's just so he's just always inspired me. Not necessarily everything about his lifestyle, but I respect his music and his voice and like what I feel like he impressioned on me and what he taught me about melodies and how to move people with your melodies and your voice, man. It made a huge impact. George Michael.
Yeah, man. Imagine if you could have met him and kind of shared Jesus with him and like, how much more music that guy had in him. Or like, I think about guys like Freddie Mercury, like, man, they probably had so much more music in them. They were geniuses and then they got taken, so I heard actually George, I don't know how true it is, but I heard George Michael toward the end of his life, he would go to this church. I don't know if it was like downstairs from where he lived or something, but he would sit in the back during the service. And I'm like, so, he may have accepted Jesus. We don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he did. He was Greek, so he probably had some upbringing in that when he was younger.
Yeah.
But, so where do you get your inspiration for your music from?
Just life, just what I'm going through, what I'm seeing my friends and family go through, the tension in our nation, the tension in the culture, just some of the things that every single person deals with is our secret life. The things that we don't necessarily want to talk about with everybody else, but we all want to be ministered to in those areas. Like those are the songs that I want to write. I want to write about the things that just provoke us to get healthier and get closer to the King.
Yeah, I love it. So what is that process like, your creative process? Do you just get like inspired, and just start scribbling notes down, or how's it work for you?
Yeah, not really. Honestly, for me, I feel like I need to come up with a concept, not necessarily just a title, but a concept of why this song needs to exist. Like I can write a song every single day if I wanted to about something. But when I really am focused on, okay, I'm feeling this song needs to exist because it's going to say and communicate this. And I love I'll always come up with music and a melody first.
Mhm.
I think that's probably 90% of the time I'll come up with like a cool melody that moves me and some music, and then the lyrics come pretty easy after that.
You ever sample anybody?
No, I mean, I would love to, but it's such a nightmare to
Yeah.
go through that process with publishing and all the legal stuff. I'm just like, eh.
Right. Yeah, I bet. I just want to give a shout out to a few people I see watching. Joe Davis, Mindy Slimmer, how are you? Misty, Karakash, Brandy Bradley, Gabby, how are you? If you guys got any questions for Ryan, feel free to post them. I'm keeping an eye on the stream, and if we got some time, we'll answer them. So who would you like to collaborate with? If you could collaborate with any artist in the world. Let's go with living first.
Yeah, living, somebody alive. Man, there's so many just brilliant people out here. I think it'd be cool to man, probably somebody in the country world. I think that would be awesome.
Did I see you had a song with Vince Gill or no?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I just did a thing with Vince and Amy, which was amazing. I think it'd be cool. Like, I grew up listening to kind of a lot of country music in our little farming community that I'm from. So, growing up on Garth Brooks and Alan Jackson and Clint Black, Vince Gill, George Strait, all of those guys, man. Brooks and Dunn, like, I think it'd be cool to do something with some of those guys. I love doing things with people that have inspired me for years. It's like my favorite thing to do. It was just honor the pioneers that helped shape me.
I want to say, did you see King and Country? Didn't Timbaland, the producer, produce one of their songs, King and Country, for King and Country?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
That's wild, man. I love to see things like that.
Yeah, sweet.
Those guys are amazing in person. Have you seen them? I'm sure you have, right?
Yeah, I've done a bunch of shows with those guys for sure.
What a production.
Yeah, they're great.
Something like you would see in Las Vegas or something.
I know, there's a lot going on.
It's like a Blue Man Group or something. It's like, it's what it reminds you of. It's just wild. But all right, let me see if we got any questions here from guests. Nope, or from viewers, that is. All right, so let's what is the most trouble you've ever gotten into? Something a little bit more personal.
Man, I think it was when I was in early high school. We threw eggs. We went out on Halloween night and threw eggs at cars. And the cops chased me down and found me, and I got into some trouble.
It's not too bad.
Yeah, I've never been in trouble like with the law. Never been arrested. Never had a DUI. Never been in jail. Never anything like that. But I came close when I threw eggs at somebody, and the cops found me. And
well, that's why you're living your best life right now.
Yeah, I've learned some hard lessons for sure.
All right, how about this? What's the most useless talent that you have?
Man, probably. Oh gosh, what an amazing question. I don't know. I don't even know that I have talents like that. I can do a Roger Rabbit impersonation, and that's pretty useless.
You got to give it.
Not a lot of people can do it. So I like blow through my cheek here, and I go, my kids love it when I do this because I'm like, and I always make my cheek like wiggle like Roger Rabbit. And they're like, Dad, do Roger Rabbit. Like, there's my pointless talent right there.
That's hilarious. That's good. That's good. So what's one message you would like to give to your fans?
Man, what I'm learning, what I keep relearning, and what I feel like the Lord just has me in this space where I don't have any interest in leaving it. And that is just coming to grips with the fact that we are beloved sons and daughters of the King. Like, he's fascinated with us. And I grew up, obviously, all of us in Western Christianity, Western religion, where I grew up thinking that, God was mostly displeased with me, that Jesus is kind of the defense attorney, and that God was unhappy with humanity, and that he sent Jesus to deal with our mess and so on. And I'm kind of separated from God and I'm out of place with him, but don't worry because we can go to Jesus because we're cool with him.
Right.
And Jesus shows up and says, "Now," he says, "if you've seen me, you've seen the Father." He tells Philip, "Philip, you got it all wrong, man. Like, how long have I been with you? If you've seen me, you've seen the Father. I am the express image of exactly what God wants to say about himself. I am Jesus. I am gracious, compassionate, tender, abounding in love, slow to anger," like everything in Psalms 103. It's been years of my life, in my adult life, on a treadmill of performance.
Yeah.
Thinking that I'm only as good as my last ability to perform really well. And that just keeps me not running to Jesus out of fear of punishment. And that is not the heart of a dad. That is not the heart of a father. And that is my message, I think, for life, is just we have to get it straight. We have to get back to a place where we understand who we are, and that, our behavior, man, sin is not a symptom of, it's not a, it's a symptom of misplaced identity that I'm learning. Like, we sin because we fail to realize who we are. And man, that has been just, the Lord has been pounding that into me daily. And that's what I'm learning. And that's what I hope people can just really grab a hold of, that is that you're a child, you're a beloved son and daughter of the King, and nothing can change that.
So do you stand in that? Because I actually had a conversation with a girl about this the other day. Do you stand in the once saved, always saved camp?
Man, that's such a good question. I think that I think we were created inside of such a magnificent, I believe in the Trinity, and I read John 1, nothing was ever created outside of primarily, first and foremost, a relationship with Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And I think that that we were included into that relationship. Some of us just don't know it yet. And I don't know if you can lose your salvation. I don't know, because you can find, I've learned this, you can find a verse in scripture every day, all day long, to support your ideology. I can do it. I can prove it over and over and over again. And I've kind of gotten to the point where, when it comes to topics like that, can be a little polarizing like that. And
sure,
I've just kind of gotten to the point where I'm like, you know what? Do you love Jesus with all your heart, soul, and mind? And, do you love your neighbor? How about we start there, And so
that's a lot harder.
Yeah. Right.
I love Jesus. I don't love my neighbor.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I hear you. No, man, I don't know either. People ask, I used to believe that you could lose it. Man, I knew all the verses of why you could lose it. I would tell you, if you were still sinning and you claimed to be a Christian, I would quote them to you and tell you why you weren't, you were basically going to hell. And then I backslid, and then I was like, oh, snap. Maybe you can't lose it. And then, so now I don't know. I just tell people it's above my pay grade, but God is gracious. He's more than fair.
Well, if you understand the father heart of God, like, having kids changed everything for me.
Yeah.
And that would be like me telling one of my sons, all right, you're not my son anymore because you messed up. Like, that's ridiculous. And that's the way we shape God. We frame God with that same lens, like, oh, I guess I'm not saved and I'm not his son anymore. Like, that's horrible theology. Like,
yeah.
When did we buy into when did we make ourselves better parents than God, Father God? And I have a hard time believing that the devil can repossess something that Jesus paid for way longer before you and I ever even had the ability to keep, when we couldn't keep a commandment to save our life if it depended on it. He was fascinated with us.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what, buddy of mine who's a pastor, he's like, because then if you start adding works in, it's like Jesus plus whatever, because that doesn't stand up, right? Because it's Jesus is the only, that's it. It's not Jesus plus anything equals salvation. So yeah, I don't know. But I think God intentionally keeps it a little vague because he wants us to develop character. He wants us to resist, some people, I mean, probably all of us, even, any of us would, if we knew we were in, like, maybe it would just cause us to like take our foot off the gas a little bit and, not try as hard to, resist the temptations. But I think that's where I think it is. I think he intentionally keeps it a little vague for a reason.
And the mysteries of God, man, are something else. I hope that people are encouraged that when in doubt, just always scale it back to the fact that you are precious in his sight. And I always scale everything back to Romans 8. And Romans 8 says, I'm convinced that there is nothing that can separate you from the love of God. He goes on to list all those things: height, nor depth, angels, demons, principalities, the future or the past. Nothing in all creation will ever be able to separate you from the love of Christ. And that's a pretty amazing promise. That should give us all a lot of hope and a lot of ability to rest.
It's pretty all-encompassing for sure.
Yeah.
So, all right, let me give you three of your songs. I want you to give me the inspiration on each. Okay. Number one, Speak Life. That's the big one.
Speak Life was just really, for me, birthed out of some, like, a church split and some drama at church that was happening. And it was just really ugly to see, like, our church just going through a crazy hard time. And it was really all just kind of about gossip and talking and whispering and rumors and this and that. And it was like, you look back on it, it's like, man, there wasn't even one real thing. It was just words. And the Lord really convicted me in that time. And it's like, now don't you see the power of words? Proverbs 18 says our words do one of two things. They either bring life or they bring death. There's no neutral exchange ever. Every interaction that we have, we're either offering life or we're draining it, as Brendan Manning says. And so that Speak Life was just easy to write because it was just fresh, like coming out of this season of like watching families torn apart and relationships dissolve and crumble and a house go through so much hurt and pain because of words spoken. And so that's where Speak Life came from.
Yeah, my pastor says, as Christians, he says, we eat our own. Christians do that, man. It's crazy. Like, we're supposed to be known by our love for each other. And yet we're always so critical of each other. Like, I hear people trashing Joel Osteen or whoever, Stephen Furtick or whoever. And I'm like, I just don't get it. Like, we're all playing for the same team.
Yeah.
But they say the tongue is the hardest thing, it's the hardest thing to tame.
Yeah.
Out of everything. It says basically a person that can control his tongue is in control of everything else. And I know that's right, because I'll say some things that I'm like, I
know. It's insane.
All right. So actually the next one is actually the big one. I said Speak Life that was also a big one, but Eye of the Storm, that was your really big song. So what was the inspiration there?
I mean, just life, honestly, like just things from my life that I was going through, things that were going on in the lives of my friends. One of my dear friends, his daughter was right smack dab in the middle of a raging heroin addiction, going in and out of rehab. Just her life was just in shambles. It was killing their family. He just knew his daughter was going to die. I mean, my mom died young of cancer. It was just a lot of life happening. And I spent years as a paramedic watching people on the street just go through tragic situations. And so a song, Eye of the Storm, about, specific things that we're going through as people was easy to write. That's really where it came from.
Yeah, that's good. And the last one was When We Fall Apart. And that was, I think, was that about your mom's message to you on her deathbed?
Yeah, my mom was on hospice. It was right there at the end, the last conversation we ever had. She literally said those words, not so eloquently, but she just the last time we spoke, she kind of had this moment of clarity because she was real disoriented there at the end and real sick and just minutes away from death. And she just started speaking these words about, hey, you don't need to try to be strong and put on this facade of this tough exterior. Like, fall apart, let go of your control, grieve. Don't think you need to be all put together. Like, Jesus meets us in the rubble. And it's it's in when we're weak, he's strong. He makes beauty from our ashes. Sometimes we only see things clearly when we see it through our tears. And I loved that. And so When We Fall Apart is just, I had no idea that her words all those years ago would end up being the catalyst for a lot of healing in my life all these years later.
Which is your favorite one to perform?
Out of those three?
Well, no, just out of all of them.
Man, I mean, every single one of them feels like my baby. Every one of them just has such a special place. Eye of the Storm is obviously great and fun to play just because everybody knows it.
Yeah.
And like half the time I don't even have to sing it anymore. Everybody else just sings it.
That's awesome, man. What's your favorite venue, the place that you've played? And what's your least favorite, actually? Let's go ask both.
Man.
Actually, I don't know if you can say your least favorite. That kind of might be a diss.
We we have played all over the world, honestly. I mean, honestly, some of my favorite places have been, it's fun to play in arenas, just full of 14,000 people or whatever. Those are great. They're so much fun. But like, I really loved playing the Ryman Auditorium, not downtown Nashville. This historic place, in Shreveport, Louisiana. There's an old memorial hall there where the night Elvis left the building, like that week, played there. But I've really, really have been loving playing in people's backyards and people's homes and people's patios. Like, just, it's been amazing.
So yeah, that's wild, man. Tell me about that. How do people find you? They just go on your website and they say, hey, I'm having like a private function, and they get a bunch of their church friends over, or
Yeah, so I just put a thing out on social media every once in a while and let people know that we're booking home shows. And we started doing it when COVID hit last March. We sat around for about a month and a half, and I realized that there was no way I could sit around and not work and not do anything. So I just put out a thing on my Facebook and social media, said, hey, we know we can't tour, we can't go play shows, but if you want us to come to your house, and we'll follow, statewide mandates and protocols, but if you want to gather a small group in your house and host an informal, casual, intimate acoustic concert with me and my guys, we'll come to you. And it just took off. Like, it just blew up. Awesome. So we've been doing that for a year through COVID the whole time.
That's wild, man.
Yeah.
I love it. I want to tell you about this concept I have for this place called home. But before I tell you about that, so what's next for you?
We're just playing home concerts till probably around July or August. We have a bunch still on the books for this year. And then we're working on a fall tour right now, like an actual fall tour again. So we'll see.
You know who's going to be on the ticket?
I don't know yet.
Yeah.
Me, of course. So I don't know who else is going to want to join us.
That's awesome. So yeah, so basically one of the reasons I wanted to really connect with you is because I have this, God gave me this vision for this place years ago. It's going to be called home, because there's no place like home. Like, literally there's no place like this in the world. So I used to be a club promoter, and, very active social life. I was in the bars 4 or 5 nights a week. And then I had this radical conversion. I met Jesus, got baptized in the Holy Spirit, and, had to basically stopped, working in the clubs, broke up with my girlfriend, cut off all my friends because they were all partiers. And then I was like, not really knowing how to live anymore because, it was such a huge part of my life. So I started going to church on Sundays, learning about God. But the other 6.5 days a week, man, they were just unbearable because I couldn't find a group of people that I could relate to. Like, I thought church people were nice, but they were boring, man. And some of them were really weird too, I thought. So I was like, I looked pretty hard. I went to some Christian coffee houses and tried to find something that remotely appealed to me, and there was just nothing. So I just basically, I figured if I don't sin long enough, God will give me a wife. So for 6.5 years, I saw a lot of movies, and then you never sent a wife. So I drifted back into the bars because I wanted to be around people on the weekends again, and it just sucked me in. I started drinking too much. Eventually, I was sleeping around, made a mess, rededicated a few years later, and went through the exact same thing for about a year, where I was staying in every night renting Redbox movies, and I was like, how in the heck do people do this?
Yeah.
So we're gonna open a bar, and it's gonna be, you know, and the way I've envisioned it is, look, I got friends that I can get to a bar a hell of a lot faster than I can get to church. And if in that bar there were people like you and me and the friends I hang out with now, they would figure it out a lot faster instead of trying to get them to come to this building they don't want to come to anyway, like a church building. So, you know, Fridays and here's how we're going to operate. So it will serve alcohol. But we're also going to have alcohol alternatives like kava. I don't know if you know what kava is, and kratom. They're like alcohol and drug alternatives. So this way, if somebody's sober, it gives them something, you know, or if people are wanting to get sober, it gives them a way to kind of transition. And then, you know, Fridays and Friday we'll do karaoke. Saturday we'll do cover bands. But then on like a Wednesday, I will have somebody like you come in because you know what, Andy Stanley, what he preaches is that Sundays are for the unbelievers. And basically, he's like, create churches that unchurched people love to attend. That's his goal. So it's because he's like, the chance of somebody meeting Jesus, their best chances on a Sunday, right? You bring your friend or your neighbor or whatever on a Sunday. So they preach light enough that an unbeliever can accept it. So for us, using that same methodology, Fridays and Saturdays will be for the unbelievers, meaning like that, because those are the nights most people go to bars. So when people come in, it's going to feel just like a normal bar. Karaoke on Friday, Saturday, but we're going to have our faith night. We're going to move people towards the center as they go further into the week. And we're going to have somebody like, hopefully you, I got your number now, and I'm serious. I'm going to call you when we get open. I'm going to book you. And we're going to have you come in and maybe we'll drink a beer together. I don't know if you drink, but I'm super excited about it. And, you know, that was part of my motivation for reaching out to you is as I want to have those connections ready for when we open.
Dude, well, thanks for thinking of me, man. It sounds exciting. Yeah, I'm stoked to see how it goes for you.
Yeah, it's going to be wild, dude. So, well, I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, buddy.
I know you're a busy guy, but hey, man, be safe on the tour out there. And I'll be in touch when home opens.
Okay, my man. Thank you.
Okay.